Welcome. I'm your host, Julie Poole, a law of attraction coach, hypnotherapist, and spiritual teacher. This show is for anyone interested in living their best life on all levels, mind, body, and soul. My aim is to uplift, inform, and inspire you. So let's chat and move you from hoping to having.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Spirit School.
And hello, everyone, and welcome to From Hoping to Having with me, Julie Poole, and the lovely
Danielle Searancke. This is very exciting. We are doing in the podcast sphere what is called a crossover podcast episode. So this will be airing on both my podcast and Spirit School, my YouTube channel, and Julie's podcast and her YouTube channel. How are you feeling about that, Julie? How's your podcast going?
It's going quite well, actually. I mean, we are 6 months in now, and getting a fair few amount of views every week, listeners and watchers. My podcast goes live on a Friday on podcast platforms, and then it's repeated on my YouTube channel on Sunday, 2 days later. And it's growing and building. It's different from what I normally do because my normal YouTube channel is meditations and healings and stuff, and tarot readings and weekly and monthly tarots. So doing the podcast is a different kind of emphasis. So it's gradually building momentum. People tend to come on and watch me looking for the tarot, and I'm talking about something that's mind, body, spirit, not tarot. They're kind of, I wanted the tarot. So some of them will go and some of them will stay. And those that are staying to watch the video, they are growing every month. So that's nice.
That is nice. And I think that you've already had some pretty incredible invites to other podcasts, haven't you?
I have, yes. I was blessed to be on Alex Ferrari's show, Next Level Soul. I was on there a few weeks back. That's going to be airing in about 3 weeks or so. End of July, early August, that will be airing. And on that show, I was talking about my spiritual journey, and Alex loves channelers and asked me, do I channel? I said, yes, I do. I channel Eli. Can we talk to Eli? I was like, okay, then. So I literally just tuned in there and then, and Eli came through, and it was a very interesting hour because Alex asked an awful lot of questions that I did not have the answers to. I was like, I don't know this. And Eli just took over and was answering all these quite high level questions about the universe and the way everything works and all sorts. I don't remember much. In fact, I don't remember any of the channeled stuff. I never do. I do recall there was one point where he asked a question, which even Eli said, I don't know this. Just a moment, and off they went higher to a higher realm and dimension where they could get that information and bring it back and bring it through. So when I watch it, when it goes live, it'll be like I'm watching it for the first time because I don't remember what was said. But very blessed to be on Alex's show because I've watched his growth over the last few months. He's gone from when I approached him back in March, I think it was, to say, I would love to be a guest on your show. He was about the same size as my YouTube channel, about 100,000, 115,000. And he's now 375,000 just in 3 months. I mean, his trajectory is whoosh. But he is such a beautiful soul, and what he's doing is such bringing the light and the information to people. But also he has some incredible guests. He had Neale Donald Walsch on, and I managed to get him on my show. For those of you who don't know who Neale Donald Walsch is, he wrote Conversations with God and 40 other books, and he is kind of what I view as the expert in all things spiritual and universal God related. So he had him. He's also had Guy Pearce on, A-list Hollywood people, and Eva Langoni, A-list Hollywood people. But his show predominantly is channelers and anything that's about the next level soul, next level of growth spiritually in terms of that. And it was a wonderful experience. I loved it.
Yeah, that's what I love about the podcast world. I mean, when I first launched my podcast a couple of years ago, I remember asking some of the biggest names in mediumship. I'm like, will you come on my podcast? And they all said yes. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I love how close knit the podcasting community can be. So I loved hearing that you got your like mentor, like somebody that you admire in the spiritual space, to be on their podcast, them to come on yours. Do you mind if I ask a few questions about Eli and channeling? Because I'm just dead curious about a couple of things. And I think your audience, my audience will be as well.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so I am huge on spirit guides. I've been aware of my guide for a very, very long time. And I'm still up in the air if like I channel, because I've seen you channel versus when you're doing your intuition. So before we go into Eli, what do you feel is the difference experience that you have between when you're doing your tarot scopes and they're so accurate? I mean, I share them with everyone every single month. I'm like, the Virgo is dang accurate every single time. So you're clearly very intuitive when you're pulling these cards and doing these tarot scopes. But then what's the difference that you experience when you're in that channel state with Eli coming through?
All right. So when I'm doing tarot or I'm doing any readings, and actually with my healing sessions as well, I'm completely tuned in, and I'm predominantly tuned into my intuition, my higher self, and my spiritual team. Now, Eli is a little bit different from that. Eli is all of those, but some also higher level beings of light that kind of come in and join in. So my spiritual team is made up of, there's a couple of loved ones, and I have 5 angels in there, I have 7 guides in there, and that's my general team. But when I'm channeling, this information is coming from what I can sense is a much higher level. So when I asked a couple of years ago, can I have a name? Like Esther Hicks is Abraham, and various people have got, what's the name? And they said, what's in a name? And I said, well, it just helps, it just helps. I mean, I just tune in and, well, that's what I get. But when I'm channeling, I can feel it's a different energy. Is there a particular entity that I am channeling? I know sometimes I'm tapping into Ptah, Thoth. Sometimes I'm talking directly with Source. I mean, who am I channeling here? And they said, you can call us Eli. And I said, so that's your name? And they said, no, that's not our name. That's our collective energy. And Eli is an acronym, and it stands for Empowering Loving Information. There are many channelers who are very much attached to one particular entity, like Abraham for Esther Hicks, and so many that, I watch a few of them. But the way that I channel, probably because I've been doing it a long time, I don't know, that I can tap into different energies. And so there isn't one particular one. It's about the energy of the time. And so the energies come down. So sometimes I'm in Palladian energy, and sometimes I'm in a Ceres energy, and it's just different energies that come through. So they kind of have formed a collective energetic field, if you like, that comes down and around. And as I said there, when Alex asked me a question, Eli said, we don't know this one, just a moment, and kind of went to a higher level or a different dimension and brought somebody else in. So I feel the energy around me very differently when I'm channeling. I'm still present. I'm aware of it. I channel with my eyes open. And generally my eyes are open, but I'm not seeing. It's very strange. Okay. So I'm aware, I'm in front of me is the screen, and I can see myself on the screen, but I'm just in this different zone. I'm not really aware of what is kind of going on. But I can, and they're not in me. They don't come into my energy. I feel that they are around, if you like, my higher self. So, the way I describe it when I'm teaching is that your higher self is about a foot above your head, about half a meter, if you like, above your head. And that makes up your spiritual team and your energetic field. And then higher beings of light can come in and around that. And I'm just aware that the energy is bigger and around me. But some channelers, trance channelers, the energy will come inside you. It's happened to me on a few occasions, particularly if I'm channeling Ptah, my eyes will close and I can feel Ptah's energy within me. That happened at Circle last 2 weeks ago, when I was doing a group meditation of connection and healing, and Ptah came in and my eyes were closed, and it was a different energy. But on the whole, when I'm channeling Eli, my eyes are open, I can walk around, I can interact, but it's not coming from me, it's coming through me. So the information is not mine, so sometimes they will say to me, you can answer this bit, this bit. If it's about anything to do with the subconscious or psychology, I have a lot of knowledge in that. But if it's above my awareness and my knowledge, I just say to them, I don't know this, and then they will give me the answers. So it's a kind of collaboration, a team thing between me and them. That's the way it tends to work. But when I'm doing tarot, my eyes are open, I'm very conscious, but they're giving me the information. And when I watch other tarot readers, like particularly like Chris Reck, Minnow Pond, who I think is amazing. There's a few I like and follow. And they will say, oh, Taurus had this, or so-and-so had this, or I told you that before. And I think, how do you know this? Because I don't remember. Once I've given a reading, I don't remember. I don't know what I said for Virgo last week. I can't remember what I said about any sign. It comes through me and it's gone. And it's part of letting go of the energy and allowing the flow. You allow it to come through and you let go. None of it is retained within my consciousness or my memory. Otherwise, I just get overloaded. I've done over 5,000 readings just in the last few years. So you think, if I tried to retain all that, my head would explode.
Mm-hmm. I often say that my memory is shockingly short. And I was like, that actually serves me very well in my spirit work.
Absolutely.
It really does.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for explaining all that. And I'm curious about the origins of Eli coming into your awareness. Like you clearly know who your spirit team is. And as you were talking about yours, I was like, yeah, like I know who mine is too. I have my grandma, my elder in spirit, my 3 main guides that I experience, a couple angels, without a doubt, that I just see like as light. But I'm kind of curious. I'm like, do you have a collective name? But when you first started channeling and discovering them, like what was the development path like for you with that? Was it just something that was like spontaneous? Was it something that you kind of efforted towards? Did you have to like overcome like limiting beliefs to be able to be that really clear channel? Just kind of curious about those early channeling days.
The first time I saw my guides, I was about 18 or 19. So I'd been aware of them since I was 7, and I'd been talking with, not so much guides at 7 or 8. I had a good relationship with Jesus. That was the first sort of person I saw. I saw him very clearly, sat next to me, and we would have chats all the way through my teens. And I moved more towards the spiritual side around about 16, 17. And that's when I started hearing about guides and angels. Until that point, my relationship with spirituality, with Jesus and God, in a very non-religious way, in a very loving, connected, part of way. So when I started hearing about guides, I just opened up. Like, have I got guides? And I got, yes, of course you have. And you've got angels and a guardian angel. I'm like, oh, okay, good to know. I was about, I suppose, maybe 19. I was in crisis. I had it was my first relationship. I have a son from that relationship. I was living with him. We were married, and we were both dysfunctional teenagers from very dysfunctional backgrounds. We were both trauma kids, and we were a nightmare. And we'd had a terrible fight, and it had been hairy, scary, and not very nice at all. And I remember he had gone to bed, and I was sat in the lounge crying and asking for help. And that was the first time I actually saw my guide. And he was stood in front of me, absolutely clear as day. And he said, I am here. I am with you. You're not alone. And he gave me his name. He was in the day, and I hope and pray this doesn't offend, but back in the day, and we're talking about 1980, 81, something like that. To me, he was a Native American Indian guide, and he was called Running River, and he is with me. And I saw him. He didn't have a big headdress on. He had a couple of feathers, and he trained me over the next 10 years or so about shamanism and about the earth and about the 4 winds and the directions. And this was all about that. And probably about 20 years on, he brought in White Eagle, who I didn't know who that was. And I actually went to Mark, who was my spiritual teacher at the time. And I said, apparently I've got a new guide. And he's got these white feathers that come all the way, this huge headdress that comes all the way down to the floor. He's very powerful, and he's called White Eagle. And Mark kind of went, what, the White Eagle? And I said, I don't know, who's White Eagle? And so he tuned in and got it for me. And I worked with White Eagle for about 4 years. And then I was handed over to angels. And the heart, my other guy said, we're going now, bye-bye. And I was like, you can't leave me now. I was about 40 and you can't go now. But they did. And angels took over and said to me that I was in a different vibration now, that the shamanic energy was very earthly and grounded. And because of my previous traumas, I needed that grounding to feel safe and secure. It was building up my root chakra, strengthening me. And now that I'd moved through that into the higher chakras, that now I was tapping in with the angelic realms. And a few years later, about 5 years on from that, that's when I first channeled. So I'd been teaching spiritual classes since about 40, and it was about 2012. So, maybe around coming to the age of 50 was the first time during Circle I did trance channeling. And I felt the energy actually come inside me. I couldn't have moved if I'd have tried. And my eyes did open. And the people in the circle said to me, it wasn't my eyes, that it was something completely different. It was pure love shining out of my eyes, and the energy that came through. And that was from Thoth, which is sort of part of the Egyptian kind of gods, if you like. And I've channeled Thoth only a handful of times, but whenever he comes through, he comes into my energy, trance channeling. But Eli doesn't. Eli sort of steps to one side. It's like, I'm here and they're there, and they talk through me. And I'm just taking dictation, if you like. I'm just saying the words they're giving me to say. And it's quite different. And I'm more present. So my eyes are open, and, it's me in here, but they're telling me what to say. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, and I think because you and me talk a lot now. We've become really good friends. And
yeah.
Even yesterday, I was saying to you, I was like, God, I can't believe how many similarities we continue to come across on our path. And I had a very similar experience with a toxic relationship, both coming from trauma places at 17 years old, a lot of drugs involved, a lot of like scary things. And I remember waking up one night and coming out, and there was a book in the living room, and it was Sylvia Browne's The Other Side and Back. And I read that in one sitting. My whole life changed. I fled that relationship completely. I found myself on the spiritual path. Like, it was really like this awakening, and that happened at 17 as well. Like, just so many similarities. And the guides came through when I was 7, and not again until I was 31. And then, that trance, I know I can feel that difference, because I did go through a couple trance experiences where I felt spirit come in, and then they showed me that I was supposed to heal in that way. My hands got really hot. I knew who needed healing, where they needed healing. I'm waiting for that to kind of come back. I feel like that's like the next thing I'm going to be focusing on. And then, I just feel too, for both of our audiences, the same thing happens for me. Like, I read people when I'm doing my mediumship with my eyes open, but I'm somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I have to tell people, even though you're sitting in front of me, you will see me gaze off to the side. And it's because like my mind just kind of goes somewhere else. And I love it. This is how come I love the details of what other people experience in this work, because I'm like, that's how it happens for me too. That's so, so exciting.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering too, and I feel like when I connect in with spirit, and like when I'm working mediumistically, and like the essence that I get to feel in my body, like I feel like I receive a bit of a healing every time I get to connect in with that. Do you get to experience that? Like,
absolutely. Yeah. The vibration is pure love. It's a higher vibration. It's incredibly peaceful, empowering, and healing. After a session where I've been channeling, I am on a huge high for about 2 hours afterwards. I love the world. I love everybody. I'm just in that energy and essence of love. And then I go completely exhausted. I just go into, I need to go to bed. I just get very, very tired. And it's that kind of, that purity comes in and fills you. And I feel incredible. I mean, every time I do a healing session, I'm tuned in and it's moving through me, the energy that is shifting out of them. I kind of am shifting the energy and aligning things. And I always feel better after a session as well. I mean, I learned this when I became a Reiki master teacher back in 2011, that, you know, Reiki comes through you, not from you, and it's coming, and it's all healing energy does. But as it's coming through you, it's touching your cellular structure, it's touching your energy field, and you're benefiting as well. And so it's the same when we're giving readings, that the energy is coming through us of that connection. It's very beautiful. We're very blessed with what we do, aren't we?
I mean, I tell people, like, not every reading is always a hit out of the park, and like, you don't always get the feeling, but those experiences when everything lines up and there's a deep need and spirit's there and I show up as a clear channel, like, that's why I continue to do this work, because that feeling, that connection to the other side is like, it's one of the most profound things that you can experience. And I'm like, even if it only happens to that level, like every once in a while, it's so worth staying on this path just to get to experience that. And that's honestly what keeps me going. And the fun thing is as I've transitioned out of doing like hundreds of readings a year to teaching hundreds of classes a year now, I get that sense teaching as well. And so I'm curious, when you did your first circle, because you're doing monthly circles now, right? Where you're channeling Eli.
Yeah, first time in 10 years. Yeah, my last circle was 2012, and I started again just the 2nd of July, I think it was. I said the first Sunday of every month, and we had this circle, and I was expecting to teach, this is, you know, A, B, C, and D, which is the way I used to do it. And I didn't say anything within the, I didn't set any expectations of that we're going to teach this time and this next time. But in the past, when I teach, I would teach a 6-week circle to make sure everybody had the basics. And then we would just move into ad hoc, you know, just allowing it to free flow. So I wasn't sure what was going to happen with this circle. I said, you know, I don't know. There's 32 people paid to attend the online live Zoom meeting, so we can see everybody, they can talk, they can interact. And I said, you know, I'm just going to tune in and just see what they want to do. And they just went into a massive energy healing session of alignment, about aligning the new vibration. So there was no actual teaching involved. It was, the whole session was channeled. And, you know, I put people into a gentle meditation to kind of connect with each other in their own power, and then expected to move into a teaching thing. But they continued. I say they, Eli and Patar came through about 3/4 of the way through, and this surge of energy came into the circle, and it was incredibly powerful. And then it was kind of, it's done, and the hour and a quarter had gone. It was about an hour there. And then I do like to have a chat with people afterwards to what did you see? What did you feel? And with a large group, that took about 20-30 minutes to make sure everybody had their say and they had the chance to contribute to the group. And then we finished. But yeah, the whole session was about aligning, because we're in this higher vibration now. And when we're in a group setting, we can increase the energy exponentially. And so the power that each person can tap into from the collective and from each other and from the universe is far superior than what we can do on our own. And I was on a massive high after the circle. I thought, God, I haven't felt that since the last circle in 2012 when we were in person in a room. But yeah, incredibly powerful vibration when we're together. But you do that too, don't you? You do all of the group work as well.
Yes. I mean, that's why I love doing it, is, you know, and that's why, well, I want to talk about the affordability of certain things too, because your circle is 11 pounds. Is that right?
22.
22. Okay. Thank you. 22 pounds.
Yeah.
So I just want to highlight that there's links below, because you should go check it out. If you love her YouTube work, you're going to love these circles. But yes, absolutely. And that's how come I want to speak to many people, which is how come I have my podcast and different things for free, because I'm like, just more people come, because not like I want to be known amongst more people. It's because the energy that is created when more people gather becomes so profound. Like, I would love one day to like sit in a room with like 1,000 people doing like a similar, like, I just want to experience what that feels like which is how come, I think as light workers, it is beneficial sometimes to keep your pricing accessible so that you can get to experience what that feels like to be in circle with a bunch of people. There's nothing like it. I mean, there's nothing that compares to it. Even like a one-on-one reading, even though they're beautiful and there's healing and you get to see and experience things, people, when they gather with a similar intention, with like open hearts, there's just nothing like it.
Yeah. I mean, I say to people, just come with an open heart and an open mind. And that's all you need to do. And
Yeah.
I asked one question at the beginning about, I said, give me a score from 1 or 0, I know nothing, to 10, I'm really experienced in terms of your spiritual journey, and so I get a feel for where people are at. And there were several people at the 0 and 1 stage, they're just beginning, they're just starting, they don't really know anything. I said, that's absolutely fine. This isn't for the experts who've been around forever. It's for everybody, because as you're in that group, you are learning from each other and you're learning from this higher vibration. And the thing is, it's not even so much the knowledge that you're absorbing, although there is a lot of knowledge. It's more about, as you are in that energy of the group energy, the collective knowledge can filter into you. And even though you may not be able to activate that because to you haven't got the knowledge, you'll pick up a book or watch a video and go, oh, I get it, I know this. And it's like, because that it's like a download, you get these downloads. So it means that your progression on your spiritual journey would be faster when you're in a circle. And I was part of a circle for several years before I outgrew it. And we do outgrow circles. You will, they're saying, when the pupil is ready, the teacher appears. We will be drawn to a particular teacher or master. I don't like the word master, but it is that sort of mastery about, the teacher is there to hold the space and facilitate the growth. And when they can bring through the channeled information and their own knowledge, because I've been doing this now, I'll be 60 in September. I've been doing this since I was 7. So professionally for 25 years. And what we want to do is be able to say, this is open to all, and it is moving you forward on your path, and it's completely safe. And you don't need to have loads of knowledge, but you'll find that your vibration has shifted and is higher as you progress through your following week, and that more good things start happening to you because you're aligned with a higher vibration and the world starts opening up. So it's a beautiful thing. I loved it. So we'll see how many come back to next time. So, it'll be the first Sunday in August now, the next one. But I tried to, the intention with that was that I wanted to get the group as big as I possibly could, because the more that are in there, the higher the vibration and the higher opportunity for people to expand and grow quicker. And so I thought, if we can, on a Zoom call, the maximum we could do on a meeting is 500. Now, on a webinar, you can go to 10,000, but I wanted to keep it a meeting where we've actually got little boxes of people's faces and we can see people. You don't have to be on camera, you can turn your video off, but it's more interactive. And to have up to 500 people all connecting at the same time in the same healing energy and the same vibrational frequency is phenomenal. So I thought, I'm keeping the price low so I can get lots of people. And our first one, we had 32, and hopefully each month it'll grow and we'll see, where we get to. But it will be what it's meant to be. The people will find it at the right time. When I started the circles I went to, after 2 years, I moved on to a different circle. I just felt, after a while, I'm not enjoying it now. I don't particularly want to go. I'm not feeling any draw to go. And I asked my higher selves and my spiritual team, am I done with this? Am I done with circle? And the answer was, you're done with this circle. You've learned everything you can learn from this circle and you're no longer growing. So it's time to move and find a higher vibrational circle. So we looked and we looked. There was 3 of us in the group that were all feeling the same thing at the same time. And we couldn't find anything that was more advanced. So we decided that we would just have a circle ourselves and just invite people of a higher vibration, more advanced, to come. And the only person who had a suitable room was me. So I agreed to host it. And then, the 5 turned up in the end, and they all looked at me and said, what are we doing? And I thought, I just thought I was hosting it. I didn't know I was teaching it. But this would have been about 2002 or something. And I just said, okay, well, I'll just tune in and see what comes through. And I went into a big channel space and ran the circle, and it went from there. And for 10 years, I was running circles that were 2 or 3 times a week for up to 15 people. And eventually around 2012, my team said to me, right, we want to put all that knowledge now in a different way. And it's wonderful that you're reaching maybe 30 people a week. But if we put all that knowledge into a book and we get that book out there, we can reach more. So that's when I stopped the circle and I wrote Angel in My Shoulder. So I felt with that book, which was completely channeled, that it was a fiction book and it was a rom-com book, because I was trying to reach the masses. This is the kind of pick it up at the airport book, read it on holiday book. But in the story of the rom-com is all this spiritual teaching all the way through it. And then I wrote that book in 3 weeks, and it's a full novel, behind me there on the.
I see them.
And it's I wrote 3 of them over the next sort of 2 years, and then carried on just doing healing and hypnosis and everything else, as you know. And then the same thing happened last year. They said it's time to write the book, and they'd said to me for some years, there's a book coming, another book coming, and this isn't going to be a book, this is going to be the book that is going to really push people forward. And I was like, okay, what's it called? We'll let you know nearer the time. And last summer, I literally got a message, it's time to write the book. So I sat down. Now, I must admit, in full disclosure, the book started not what it is now. The book started, and it was going to be called Channeling Eli, because the information that came through was completely channeled from Eli talking to us. And I was taking the dictation in the third person. And we got to the end of part 1, which was all about your power and the spirituality and your soul and your soul's journey. And then the second part is all about now resetting and reprogramming and getting into the receiving. And Eli said, right, we're off now. You can do the next bit. And I said, okay, that's fine. So, as a therapist and, been doing this for 20 years, I wrote the next two sections, finished the book. And then when I was editing it and I was reading it, I said, it feels disjointed. It feels like 2 separate books. The way that what Eli had put and what I had put were very different. And so I just thought I have to somehow tie this in. So I had to have a sit down kind of meeting with Eli and said, how shall I play it? And they said, just change everything now to the first person from it coming to you, so that it all sort of works through. So I did that. It took me and my friend Pam weeks, because Eli was talking to us in third person. I had to change everything to me saying it, just change the book completely. And it never was going to be called Channeling Eli. It ended up being called From Hoping to Having. And what has been absolutely amazing, although, as it's not my book, it's theirs, so it doesn't surprise me really, is the reviews on Amazon, people saying this is the best law of attraction book I've ever read, and fits, and somebody else said this fills in all the gaps that The Secret left out. It's like, people have read all these different law of attraction books, and there's bits here and there's bits there, but it didn't fit. There was so many bits missing. And so, when I was writing it, I was filling in the gaps. And also, I think a lot of these law of attraction books can be quite difficult to understand if you're not really, really into it. And, for people like me and you who've been in the spiritual field for decades, I found it very easy to read. But if I had picked up The Secret or Abraham Hicks books or any of those, like as a beginner, most of it would have gone over my head. So I thought, when I'm writing this, it needs to be in a way that people at any level, a complete beginner or somebody who's been around this for most of their life, will understand, and that it won't be too boring for the experts and it won't be too difficult for the novices, that it will hit. And that's what people are saying. This is the easiest to read, the most easy to understand, fills in all the gaps. And people say now already, it's been out for 5 months, it's already transforming my life. I've got a better job, I've got this and I've got that, and I've, found the love of my life. And I'm like, I love it. You know, somebody said to me the other day, I'd left a review, and I said, oh, thank you very much. And I thought, I haven't looked at the reviews since early May. I've been busy, but I went into Amazon and looked at the reviews, and I was crying. I was just, I thought, yeah, if somebody filmed me like reading these reviews, I'd be just like, really? They said that about my book? Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was just lovely.
Love that. And I'm proud of you. I mean, you're just so diverse. Like, you do so much. You're so accomplished. And the book is incredible. And me and my daughter love the affirmation booklet too. When I bought the book, I accidentally bought the affirmation one and I had to buy the book. But me and my daughter actually flip through it every day, and like we'll pick an affirmation and we'll say it a couple times. And so me and my daughter have been really enjoying it too. And congratulations on its success. It's just absolutely phenomenal. And we're very lucky, like at Spirit School, like you're coming to teach the book live. Is that going to be your first time teaching it live?
Yes. Yeah. It's going to be the first time teaching this book live. I mean, as we said, I've taught seminars and workshops and circles, but this book only came out in February. And, it takes, I guess, looking at the length of the book, it's a full length book, maybe 6 or 8 hours. And I thought we could put this into a 2-day workshop, and I can really teach everything in the book and be there in person to answer your questions when you're saying, I don't understand this, or this doesn't make sense, and to actually help you connect with your goals and dreams, and then to connect with the resistances and the blocks and to remove them. And also I'll be channeling Eli during that 2 days as well. So it's kind of, how lovely is it to be able to have the actual author of the book explain the book in detail in a workshop setting, and be able to do a Q&A and answer any questions. And, depending on how many are there, to put people in little groups so that we can delve down even deeper, so that the aim of it by the end of the 2 days is that you are fully clear of your goals and dreams, that all your blocks are gone, and you will have received any channeled messages from Eli that want to come through. And at the end of it, if anybody wants to me to sign their book, I will be bringing some books with me if you haven't got it. If you've bought your own already, bring it and I will sign it. So, and we're going to do a dinner as well, aren't we?
I was just in my head. I was like, I think we're doing a dinner too. Yes, we're going to try to do a dinner, you, me, and the group. Now, this is a workshop that we're hosting at Spirit School. I'm going to be kind of in the audience, but I think we're also going to be streaming the workshop for people who may not be able to fly out to Squamish or come here. We do have people traveling in already to come see you here, but I'm buying all the equipment so that we can also stream large portions of the workshop for people to make it more accessible and have more energy kind of come into the space. So yes, and we'll do dinner together, and I'm just so excited to show you Squamish.
I can't wait. I mean, I've never been to Canada. I had my first trip to America a few weeks ago, as you know. I went to Florida. And then, to come to Squamish, I'm completely obsessed with the ocean and mountains and nature as a Virgo. And, Squamish is on the ocean, surrounded by mountains. It's incredibly beautiful. And, I've seen the videos of your new Spirit School, which is just so incredible. The detail, the energy, the flow, and the environment all around it, to be in person teaching there. So for those of you who don't know, Northwest Canada, Squamish, British Columbia, that's what we're going to be, 16th and 17th of September. And we're going to, pace it nice and slow, not too fast, not too exhausting. And we're going to, teach a morning and an afternoon, and then the second day, a morning and an afternoon. And that evening, if people want to join us for dinner, they can do. But me and Danielle was discussing, how can we access more people who can't get to Canada? And could we film it? Could we, perhaps, my first idea was, let's film it and then put that out as a paid workshop on video that people can download. And then Daniel came up with one better than that, saying perhaps we could stream it live and people could join us. And even if they can't join for the morning, the afternoon of the 2 days, that, there will be the recording, the replay available, so they could have the whole thing and be part of it. And that feels amazing as well. The more people that we can access with this, the better. So that feels really good.
Yeah, me and my assistant put together, I bought like a big media trolley that I can cart around for this exact thing. And she put it together yesterday. We named it Andy. I'm like, this is Andy. They're going to be helping us with all the streaming. And so, yeah, I'm really excited for that. And, I'm such a fan of your work. And I mean, I've been a fan for a long time of your work. And so it was like me reaching out to you not long ago, just saying, hey, do you want to come on my podcast? Hey, can I be on your podcast? And it's just worked out so beautifully. So I'm so excited to host you here and very excited to spend some more time with you and share you with some Spirit School listeners. And I know two people who are coming, and I was at their house not long ago, and they actually had your book out on tables. I was like, oh, here's Julie Poole's book. So people are definitely getting it, but definitely bring some copies without a doubt. And yeah, thank you for the comments on Spirit School. It's been a labor of love. I'm so excited. You'll be the third workshop in here by the time you arrive. And September is a gorgeous time to come here because we get all 4 seasons and the leaves will be turning red and it'll be just such a colorful landscape and still summery weather too, which is nice. But yeah, I'm pretty proud of what we're building here at Spirit School, and your body of work is exactly the type of energy and wisdom I want to bring into this space. So thank you for saying yes, that you would come all this way.
Oh, you're so welcome. I can't wait. It's going to be amazing. I mean, for my listeners and watchers, Danielle's podcast, Spirit School, has been around for quite some time and is very successful. #1 podcast in the spiritualism kind of field. And yeah, Danielle teaches and does all sorts of amazing things and has a membership of Spirit School, which you can join. I'll make sure the links are down below for that. But then, yeah, it was last year when you said, wouldn't it be amazing to have a physical Spirit School somewhere, actually a building where people can come for mentorship, for classes, for courses, for workshops. And Danielle has built this incredible new school. I mean, she hadn't built it herself. It was a building, but you brought in so many different people. You've designed that and restructured what was basically an empty building into an amazing space, haven't you?
Yeah, we didn't even have running water here before I got in here. And yeah, I was really proud of it. And my podcast is 5 years old. And so I initially started my podcast to talk about the details, like the nuances, the less glamorous side of spiritually developing, because I think that there's a vision out there that it's like all rainbows and butterflies and your life never goes wrong again. And you're confident, you're in your power, you work for spirit now. What could go wrong? And so I wanted to start a podcast about like what really happens on the spiritual evolving path, and especially the mediumship development path. And the podcast did really well. Not right away. It took about a year or two for it to actually really start to pick up. And the reason is too, because I had so much stage fright back then that I didn't tell anyone I had a podcast. I just was basically saying, whoever finds it will find it. And then people just started sharing it and it started growing. And eventually when I quit my job in 2020, I started an online school called Spirit School. And then when I hosted my first retreat, which just happened in April, it sold out really quickly. So I was like, well, maybe there's a demand for in-person now. I mean, the pandemic's over, Spirit School is well known. I mean, granted, over 90% of my clients are in the States, which I find kind of interesting. It just does really well down there. I was like, oh, I wonder if people will come to Canada, because I made a declaration to Spirit actually 3 years ago, and they keep reminding me of this. It was my first thought when I woke up today, actually, was this memory of me saying, because I don't like traveling. I'm like, I was like, I want to be a teacher that people travel from around the world to come see. And I was very specific about that because I'm like, I don't like flying. So I would rather have people come here. And my first retreat did sell really good. So I started looking for physical space, but Squamish is a very small town. It's a beautiful town, but there's only so many people here. And I couldn't get a realtor to take me seriously when it came to finding a venue, and they would mostly ghost me. So thanks to the power of social media and Instagram and just sharing, I'm like, this space is empty. How do I get this space? And it's beautiful. It's on the ocean. It's one of the only 3 oceanfront venues, and it was empty. And I had a realtor reach out to me. She was like, you would be my first client, but I can get you in that space. And I tell you, no one works harder for you than a first-time realtor. So she did. She got me the space, and everything aligned so well. I reached out to I'm First Nation. So I reached out to an Indigenous capital corporation who backed the funding of the project. And I found 2 female BIPOC contractors and designers. So we were an all-female BIPOC team that built out Spirit School, which I'm really, really proud of. And the direction I gave them was really exciting, because everyone right now wants that white monochrome look where it's like white on white on white. And I was like, black, purple, gold. I'm like, you need to think about Hogwarts and elevate it. It's like elevated Hogwarts. And I tell you, I must have been sleeping, because when I came back from my retreat, they had it pretty much all put together. And I literally started crying, because I didn't realize that they're going to put lights everywhere, on dimmers. So like when you're here at night, it's just so magical versus when you're here in the daytime, when you have like the exposed windows and the ocean and the mountains. Like, it's just an absolute dream being here. And I'm so proud of it. And I'm so proud to bring people here. And yeah, it's been a journey, and it's been a struggle too. I mean, it wasn't all rainbows and butterflies. It took a lot of time and effort and sleepless nights and going over budget. It's been a journey, but I am so proud of it. And I'm so excited to see what we can create in this space. And now for me, it's about getting to know the local public now, like here in Squamish, because I always did readings here from 2013 to 2020, but with the pandemic going online, it has mostly been international people who have consumed my body of work. So it's kind of interesting. It's like I'm starting over in some ways. And then in other ways, it's like an expansion. So yeah, it's been a challenge. It's been fun though. And I'm really happy being here. I'm happy.
Wow, well, I can't wait to go. I mean, like you, I set the intention about 3 years ago too, where I said to Spirit, I want to travel. I've never really traveled. So the opposite to you of I don't want to travel, but in terms of setting the intention and setting the goal, I was a mum from 17, and my last child left home when I was 56. So I never really had the opportunity to explore the world or do things. And I want to do it now while I'm still young enough and I've got my health. I want to see something of the world, and I want somebody else to pay for it. Thank you very much. And that's what I said to Spirit. So I set the intention because 80% of my watchers are American and Canadian. So I said, I want to be over there. I want to do the 4 corners of America. So I sort of set Seattle in the northwest and California in the southwest, and New York-ish for the northeast, and Florida for the southeast. And this is going to be my first thing. When you said to me, do you want to come to Squamish? I literally was like, it's beginning, it's starting. That I want to teach a workshop, and that I get to travel, my expenses are paid, and I get to help people. It's a win-win-win situation in several directions. So when I looked at where Squamish was, it's 2 hours north of Seattle. I'm like, that's the first corner ticked then, because anybody from Seattle could drive up to that without any problem at all. And then more recently, I've started now setting up just a 1-day event in the other 3 corners next year and the year after. So I'm working with my friend Pamela Roadnight, who is an angel medium, and she is American. She lives in Vermont, and because she's on the same time zone, she can make calls. She's going to get me a venue. We're looking at Florida for March next year, and Vermont for October next year, and then California the year after. So her job is to go find me a venue and then find me a hotel to stay in, and I'll arrange the flights and set up the 1-day workshop, which is going to be different from what I'm doing with you. This workshop at Squamish is a 2-day intensive from hoping to having workshop, whereas those 1 day, they're half day actually, is going to be a morning and an afternoon session, which is just a channeling Eli to give messages and information from Eli. It's very different. So this is my first time teaching properly and teaching this law of attraction stuff, which I'm really excited to do, because so many people could be living such a more empowered, happier life if they just knew how. It's like the roadmap, we're living this life without the rule book. And we don't, I remember learning Monopoly, which is one of my favorite board games, when I was about 7. And I was only just reading at that point, and my dad explained all the rules so that I could play the game. And within a little while, I'd mastered it, and I was beating my brother and my sister, and I became the Monopoly queen. But somebody had to explain the rules to me so that I could play the game well and win. And it's just like that with this game of life. There is a rule book. And if you understand the rule book, you can live an amazing life. It's those that don't understand the rule book that keep hitting struggle after struggle and after struggle. And then why me? And the more we then go into the why me mode, the more we hit struggle and struggle. And then we can't see a way out. So this is showing you the way out, and it's giving you the roadmap, the rule book, and this is how to live a good life. And the first day of the rest of your life starts today. When you understand the rules, then you can change the world to work for you, with you, and live the most incredible existence.
I love that. I don't know if I want to follow that up. I think that this is a good place to kind of wrap this up, because I feel that so much in my heart, and the world of spirit has been really inspiring me in the past couple of months to learn more about the spiritual laws, like the divine laws. And so this is all very timely, and the book is incredible. Your work is incredible. So excited to host you here in Canada. And we actually have a board game here in Squamish called Squamishopoly. So we actually have a Squamish version of Monopoly. So I'm definitely going to be picking you up a piece. And I actually have a book written by White Feather, if you can believe it. Okay. Is that it? Sorry, can you say it? Did I say that right?
White Feather, White Eagle.
White Eagle. Thank you. Sorry. I was like, I know I said that wrong, but I actually have a little book written by teachings from White Eagle. Isn't that wild? So I'm just like thinking of the gifts I'm going to have ready for you when you get here.
Yeah, I used to have several books. Once I knew I saw several books around. But apparently there's the White Eagle Lodge Foundation. I mean, it's huge. But and he's always said, he said to me at the time, you will go to Canada. I've had many past lives as Indigenous people. And he said to me, he showed me several tribal lives where I so totally connected with the land. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because they have said to me that my psychic gifts are going to go up a notch and then some after September. And they told me that a year ago. And I thought, what's happening in September? It's my 60th birthday. But other than that, what's happening in September? So of course, now what's happening is I'm coming to Squamish. And this is First Nation territory. This is beautiful landscape and a spiritual weekend. So, wow, I think everybody is going to have an incredible experience here, and I can't wait. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thank you, Julie Poole. And thank you, Julie Poole's listeners, for tuning in, and the Spirit School listeners for tuning in and supporting Julie. We're going to have links to our YouTube channels and our websites and all the things that we were talking about today if you want to go check it out. Don't be afraid to leave a review and a rating wherever you're listening to this. That really does help. As Julie mentioned earlier, when she reads reviews, it really does, I don't know, it brings life, and it makes us feel like we're making a difference in what we're doing. So we really do appreciate
it's actually helping people. It motivates us to motivate you.
Exactly. So thank you very much, Julie, for coming on the Spirit School podcast.
And thank you, Danielle, for coming on the From Hoping to Having podcast. And to your listeners, thank you so much. And I look forward to meeting some of you at Spirit School in September and seeing others of you at a different time. Have a wonderful day with love and blessings from both of us. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me today. If you enjoyed this podcast and found it useful, please subscribe to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, and more, where you can leave up to a 5-star review. If you want to support my work or want to know more, please go to my website, juliepooleonline.com, where you will find details of my new book, From Hoping to Having, available on Amazon worldwide, and more about my work, products, and services. The link is in the show notes. Thank you for listening. See you in the next episode.